Okay, it is Wednesday, the 3rd of March, and today we're looking at can I edit and improve a story? But just to start us off, can you identify what type of word each of these words are in this sentence? So each word, so you've got the, large dogs, were barking loudly, and in and the and garden. So you've got 9 words there. So what is each of these types of words? So are they adjectives? Are they nouns? Are they verbs? Obviously, they're all different. But if you could just identify what's each word. So firstly, what type of word is the? Is that an adjective, a determiner, a noun? Then what is large? Then what is dogs, etc. So through the whole sentence. Okay, so some of these words are the same. Some of them are different. So of course, the here, that's a determiner. Tells us what type of large dogs we're talking about. Are we talking about some large dogs, the large dogs, many large dogs? So the is a determiner. Large is an adjective. Tells you more about the dogs, and dogs is then a noun. That's a thing, an object. Were and barking are both the verbs. So were, barking, verbs. Loudly is how they're barking. Tells us more about how the verb is happening. So that's an adverb. Ends in ly as well, which is another clue. In is a preposition. Tells you where the dogs are in relation to the garden. The is again a determiner. And then garden is a noun. It's a thing. So I'll let you pause that there and just check how many of those you got right and just change them if you didn't. Okay, so yesterday we wrote a story, a cold story. We basically had no input. We just went out straight away and we just wrote a story based on this video. And today we're going to look at editing and improving it. Now, editing and improving is a really key skill. I think there's a couple of things here. Is firstly to realize that you're never going to get your kind of best work if you don't go through and edit, you don't go through and improve it. And that's a common fact in any piece of writing. I've actually got some quotes here, which I wanted to share, these are quotes from famous authors. Okay, so these are people who write for a living. Okay, and they're just talking about writing something down for the first time. And the first one is this, that to become a proper writer, you have to forgive yourself for catastrophe of the first draft. What that means is the first time you write anything, it's not going to be great. You're going to look at it and go, oh, I don't really like that. I'm not sure about that. But that's fine. Really famous authors write their first draft and think, oh, I don't really like that. This second one I think is important because I think some people have problems just writing something. I think they find it quite tricky to think of ideas or put ideas down. And this is another famous author says, I think the trouble starts when you sit down to write and imagine you will achieve something magical and magnificent. And when you don't, panic sets in. The solution is never to sit down and imagine you will achieve something magical and magnificent. So it's just understanding that the first time you write something down, it's not going to be your best work. You have to look at it over again and improve it. And that's when it becomes better. This is another one saying writing, I can only really speak to writing here, always only starts out as terrible and stays terrible for a long, long time, sometimes forever. And finally, it doesn't matter if it's good right now, it just needs to exist. So the reason I'm telling you that is not to tell you that what you've written is terrible, because it's not, but it's to tell you that what you write the first time is never going to be your best work. You're editing and improving it is the only way you're going to get to your best work. And also, the other point is to not worry about that first time you write something down. Not to care too much about whether it's perfect. It's not going to be perfect, but that's okay. So with all of that in mind, I'm going to share with you my first draft. Okay, so as I say, it's my first draft. It's not going to be great, but that's okay, because that's what we're going to do now. We're going to go through, we're going to edit it, because any kind of, when I've just gone, write a story out of nowhere, it's never going to be amazing, but that's okay. So here's my story. So once upon a time, there was a happy robot who lived in the forest. He liked standing on leaves and hearing them crunch. One day he saw a train come along and he saw that it had the same markings on it as he had on him. So he decided to get on the train and see where it would take him. After a long journey, when he fell asleep, he arrived at a huge noisy factory that was billowing out black smoke. He went into the gates and almost got run over by an enormous moving machine. It was horrible there. But then he saw the sunrise and missed the forest, so he went home. The end. Okay, so I've done my first draft. I didn't worry about like how good it was or whatever. I just wrote something down. So now I can look at it and go, right, okay, let's see how I can improve this. So I want you to pause the video, just think, just imagine you're me and read that and think, what could I improve about that? What could I edit? Because it's okay at the moment, but I think it could be better. Okay, so I don't know what you thought. There's probably a lot of things we can improve, but I wanted to focus on this beginning bit, just this first 2 lines here. Let's zoom in on them. So once upon a time, there was a happy robot who lived in the forest. He liked standing on leaves and hearing them crunch, and that's what I got from the video. But I think there's kind of more here, because, I mean, I haven't really described the robot other than saying he's happy. And I haven't really described the forest at all. And I kind of think in the video, it was quite like, the forest is really like nice and beautiful and lovely sunlight and everything. And I don't think I really got that impression across in my writing. So I want you to, well, actually, let me look at what I would ask about this. Firstly, I'd say, what was the forest like? Haven't actually described the forest other than saying there's leaves, which isn't really a surprise. And how can I describe it to make it seem a happy and beautiful place? So that's, again, another sort of thing I need to add in. How I'm going to need to make it seem like this really happy, lovely place, like it was in the video. And then anything else a robot enjoyed doing in the forest. I think it's a really good kind of a really good detail that you like standing on the leaves and hearing them crunch. But I think we do more. That is such a good detail that actually maybe you could put more of it in. So what I want you to do is just to have a look at your beginning bit, your first few lines, where you're describing that forest. Now, you may have done more description than me. You may have written loads about the forest, but have a look at that first bit where you're describing the forest. Have you described the forest really, really well? Have you made it seem a lovely, beautiful place? Have you described like the robot and what he liked doing in the forest? So just let you pause the video, have a look at your beginning bit and have a think, just like you did on my first draft, what is it that you could improve about that? And everyone's going to have probably something slightly different, but have a think. Okay, so I'm gonna work for you. I'm gonna prove this bit. Okay, so when I've done my example, obviously you can have a go at improving yours. Yours is probably going to improve in a slightly different way to mine, but it's going to be the same process. So the first thing I think is, right, I'm going to want some really good descriptive language about this forest. So I've come up with some key vocab here, which I want to talk to you about. So you can use any of these, of course. I've just come up with them because I think it might help me in my piece of writing. So dappled sunlight I've got. Dappled sunlight is where you have, I think I talked about this a few days ago, where you have sunlight on the forest floor, but because there's loads of leaves above you, it looks like loads and little spots of shadow and light at the same time because of the shadows of the leaves, and that's dappled. That's just that effect. A carpet of leaves I've got on the base of the forest. I thought about the robot. I thought basking in the sun. So like basking is like a cat does. If you've got a cat and you see it like lying in the sun on your bed or something, he just lays in there all day. That's basking in the sun. Zephyr. Zephyr's a great word. People don't use it very much, and it's spelled really weirdly, but it looks like such a cool word, and it means something really simple. It just means a light breeze. So anytime you want to say a light breeze, you could just say a zephyr, and it means the same thing. And I think it's just a cool word to use. A haze of sunlight, that just means where it's really bright and things are a bit blurry because it's so sort of bright. A small stream trickled by you could have. I have him skipping through the sunbeams. I think that's what the robot might like to do. And I've just put some colors here because saying like green leaves or red leaves is a bit boring. So I put like emerald and jade are both kind of shades of green. And then we've got crimson and scarlet, which are kind of shades of red, which you could use there. Okay, so this is my beginning. And I'm going to improve it. There you go. So I'm going to improve it. So let's get rid of this so you can see. Right. So what I want, first I'm going to separate this a second so I can really look at the bit that I'm going to focus on. So once upon a time, there was a happy robot who lived in the forest. Right, let's add something in here to describe the forest then, who lived in the forest. And if I'm going to put, imagine the robot walking through the forest, and then I can describe it. He loved to walk through the trees feeling the warm zephyr, get that in there, zephyr, feeling the warm zephyrs, I assume, feeling the warm zephyrs on his skin. He doesn't have skin, on his metal skin. All right, on his metal skin. He loved to walk through the trees. What kind of trees could we have? He loved to walk through the swaying trees, the birch trees, oak trees, maybe not type of tree, I like swaying trees. He loved to walk through the swaying trees, feeling the warm zephyrs on his metal skin, full stop. What else did I have? Occasionally, and then I could have something about what might happen occasionally. Occasionally, a small stream would trickle by, and he'd what would he do? Did he splash his feet in the stream? Does he? Oh, and he'd maybe drink some, or and he'd wash his feet, maybe wash his feet in the cool water. There we go. He likes standing on leaves and hearing them crunch. And a little bit more in what he liked doing. He liked standing on leaves and hearing them crunch, and he would spend his days basking in the sun and skipping through the sunbeams. Have that in there. Skipping through the sunbeams. And I think I want a short sentence here, just really to kind of emphasize that he was happy and content. I said happy up here. Do I want to change happy? What options do they give me? He was joyful and content. He was pleased and content. He was joyful and content. He was happy and content. I just leave it like that, I think. He was happy and content. So let's read it through just to check it all sort of sounds right. Once upon a time, there was a happy robot who lived in the forest. He loved to walk through his swaying trees, feeling the warm zephyrs on his metal skin. Occasionally, a small stream would trickle by, and he'd wash his feet in the cool water. He liked standing on leaves and hearing them crunch, and he would spend his days basking in the sun and skipping through the sunbeams. He was happy and content. Perfect. Right, I like that. So I'm going to do that there. Perfect. I like that so much better than my first draft. I'm glad I did that. So what I want you to do is just to do the same thing. Just pick that very first bit of your story. Don't worry about the whole thing. Again, just break it down to little bits. Pick that very first bit of your story, the bit about the forest and the robot, and just think, what can I add in here? Hopefully you've written on every other line, so you've got a line in between where you can add stuff. It's up to you. You may just want to rewrite that first bit itself on a new page if you want to, if there's loads to change. But it's completely up to you. It's your editing, it's your work. Again, I don't know. There's 30 different stories out there, so I don't know what things need to be changed in yours. And that's part of being an author, is really making your own decisions about what you want to change in your work. But again, remember what we did about the first draft. You know, this is only a second draft. It should be better than the first one, but don't think it's automatically going to be amazing and the best thing anyone's ever written. Just worry about making it a little bit better. Don't worry about making it perfect. And there we go. So that's it for today.